Okay, everybody, so this is the fourth video in my playlist about how to fill in the FL-150 income and expense declaration form used for California family law cases. So if you want to learn how to fill out page 3, 2, and 1, go ahead and check my channel as well as look for the other videos earlier on in this playlist. So that said, this is the last page of the FL-150, and the important thing to know first off is that you only need to fill in this case if there's child support involved or if there are even children. So if your case does not involve kids at all, then you don't need to fill in this form. So you just basically take this form, or this page of the form rather, and ignore it. But if you have kids and there is a child support question or issue that you need the court to resolve, that's when you go ahead and fill in this form. Um, so that said, I'm going to go over the box kind of situation again. So this first kind of box that I've highlighted here is box 16 or section 16. I think I called it sections earlier. So that just goes over the number of children. So if you have 2 kids under the age of 18, put 2. If you have 4, oops, not 24, 4 like that, go ahead and put that in. So that part's pretty straightforward. B is sometimes a little bit harder. So the percentage of time is called timeshare. So the way to think about that is if the children live, for example, with one parent but the other parent has visitation, you want to look at, roughly, let's just take a calendar year, and out of that calendar year, what percentage of the time does, this child spend with the mom? What percentage of time does the the child spend with the dad, etc. And if you work it out, sometimes it's 20%, 80%, 70%, 30%, something like that. The timeshare will depend on the visitation. So if you have, if you're the non-custodial parent, let's say the kids live with mom and you're the dad, but you have them every weekend, you'll have a higher percentage of time, a higher timeshare than a dad who only has every other weekend, or a dad who has just Tuesday night or something, but no weekends. So if you go online and you search for it, like how to compute timeshare percentage in California, there are actually big tables. So the thing is, it'll say like, oh, every other weekend translates to X percent. 3 weekends a month translates to this. 1 weekend a month plus 2 nights every week translates to this, etc. So the number here is, it's important to get it roughly correct, but it doesn't need to be exactly correct. Like don't think, oh, 63 versus 62. Oh no. And if you're not sure about how to compute your timeshare percentage, or if it's not been agreed upon, go ahead and just kind of describe in here what the arrangement is. So most of the time, well, actually, I take that back. Not even most of the time. A lot of times, the kids will have the same timeshare. So the thing is, when dad, for example, comes to get the kids, he will get both of them and take them out to dinner. He'll have them both on the weekend, etc. On occasion, you will have some kind of timeshare situations where the timeshare is different per child. So the dad will have one child more often than the other, let's say. And in that case, you'd have to compute what the percentage is for each child, or just describe it here in this box. So that said, box 17 goes over children's health insurance. So in California, by law, the parents have to try their best to provide health insurance for the children. So if you can provide health, if you're one of the parents and you can provide health care for the children, then you have to check the appropriate box and provide the name and address of the insurance company, as well as the cost. Keep in mind, this cost could be, what it actually is, or what it would be, if you were able to afford it. So, box 18 here. So box 18 is what's typically called an add-on in child support parlance. So it's very kind of specific, I guess, to each individual case. So, for example, let's say that the child's a minor and the child lives with the mom, but the mom needs childcare so that she can go work or go to school or something. That's an add-on expense that you would go ahead and put in box 18A. If the child has special needs, for example, let's say they have autism, or they have special eyeglasses, learning disability, something that requires like, special accommodation, special tutors, doctors, etc. And insurance only covers part of that. The other part is what the parents have to basically split, and that goes in box 18B. So travel expenses, there's a whole kind of computation that goes into that. Not going to go over that in this video, but if you want to, learn about it, go ahead and leave me a comment, or at some later point in the future, I might decide to shoot a video on travel expenses, just kind of generally. So, that said, going on to box 19. Box 19 goes over hardships, as the name would kind of suggest, I guess. So, hardships, the ones that I see most often, actually, or the one that I see the most often, rather, is box C here. So, for example, let's say the parent, like this is the second divorce for a particular parent, and they have children from this marriage, but they also have children from before. And in that case, to have one parent support two sets of kids can be kind of a hardship, and child support for the second set of children will be modified accordingly. Usually there's a deduction. So if you have additional kind of expenses, for example, like health expenses that are extraordinary for some reason, other losses not covered by insurance, that type of stuff would go in here also, as well as the amount per month and how many months you've had to pay it, etc. A and B here, 19A, 19B. I don't actually have personal experience with those. I've never kind of seen those on cases, but 19C I actually see quite often. So to kind of continue on, I guess, right here. So, if, for example, you need to explain, assuming that it's not, readily apparent on its face, if you need to explain what it is that, like what hardship, I guess, that 19A, B, and C cause, this is where you would do it. And box 20, the last form, or the last box on the FL-150, is basically a catch-all box. So you can go ahead and put in any other stuff that you want the judge and the court to know. A lot of times people leave this blank, but if your particular situation warrants some sort of special explanation that you think the judge might want to hear, then go ahead and include it there. So that's it for the page 4, I guess, of the FL-150 form, and this also concludes the playlist going over how to fill in the FL-150. So like I said at the very beginning, this form is very common. You use it in a whole bunch of different family law cases, so divorce, child support, paternity, pretty much everything, really. It's kind of complicated, it's not simple, I guess, but it's actually not that hard either, and hopefully this video has gone over all the important kind of parts of it. So if you have any questions, go ahead and leave me a comment, but otherwise, thanks a lot.